Good morning again. I want to thank Peter Simons for the invitation. Of course, Dominic, the ESVG president, and WSBI, Peter Simons as managing director of both, for inviting me to this conference. I'm delighted of being here among such distinguished panelists. We just hear also Gabriela Ramos from UNESCO. And while I was coming here from Spain yesterday, I was also thinking how this event has proven very timely, because just we are right now, and at least in Spain a few days ago, we were just celebrating the Financial Education Day. Also, we had the Consumer Protection Day that is celebrated each year by the three ISAs, the three European supervisory authorities that took place in Seville. And we are joining this week the World Investor Week, promoted by IOS, the International Organization of Securities Regulators, which, as you know, has its headquarters in Madrid. And all of this is to raise awareness about the importance of investor education. So financial education is keeping securities regulators busy, and for a good reason, since for us it's a key pillar in our supervisory strategy and to enhance and ensure that there is enough investor protection. And why? We can say this very easily. Financial education has the ability to empower citizens to take responsible decisions and to be aware of their rights as investors, as financial services users. And with this empowerment, this helps us supervisors in our mission to ensure the better market conduct among banks and financial services providers. Additionally, I think it goes without saying that, of course, financial education is key as well for having a healthy society. We know that increasing financial welfare of our quality and increases our quality of life, also promotes economic growth and increases social cohesion among societies, since it facilitates this financial inclusion of those that could be in a more vulnerable situation. But, and I think there's always a but, despite all the efforts on this front that we have done over the years, I think that we have to recognize that results are not as good as they should be, particularly among the Europe. Some pieces are still missing in this puzzle, and the new digital environment is increasing the challenge. I think Peter Simons particularly mentioned this, and I will come back to this point. Because what we know with the data, if you know at the numbers, we see that several studies are pointing out that there's still a long road ahead to improve financial decision making, particularly when looking at very basic understanding of financial concepts. And here I'm referring to the effect of inflation rate, what happens when interest rates increases, or just not to mention risk diversification. And in Spain, we see that 52% of young people did not grasp correctly the concept of inflation. And more broadly, according to the last Eurobarometer, in Europe, 43% of young people in Europe cannot answer a simple question of inflation. And when I'm saying this, it's like this question that says, if you have 100 euros this year and there is a 2 inflation rate, next year you're going to be able to buy the same, more or less products than this year. 43% of young people are not able to answer this question. On interest rates, 22% of the young, they don't understand the effect of an increase of interest rates on bond prices. And I could go on and on. And I think it's clear that there's these needs, and this is why events such as today's one, particularly focused on the youth, are so important in encouraging the debate, in joining efforts, and trying to find a way to make financial education more appealing in current times. So with this in mind, I would like to contribute to this debate with two basic, or with two particular, I would like to contribute to this debate highlighting two areas which I believe deserve particular attention. The first one is related to the new digital environment, the dynamics of the new sources of information, and what we are witnessing as well is the increase of fraud practices. First of all, let me say that, of course, there is no doubt of the benefits that new technologies bring in enhancing financial knowledge. I think that's clear, because social networks and internet allow for this constant exchange of information. We have these investors that are more connected, and definitely we have this financial community that can be better informed. However, we should also be aware of how social channels are changing the way the young are informed and are educated. And for me, the problem is that there's plenty of information available to everybody, but not all information has enough quality. And in the immensity of the internet network, we know that information is not the same as knowledge. You can have information, but it's not the same as having knowledge. So we need to be able to differentiate between a good source from a bad source. Something that is not easy. It's not easy for anybody. It's not easy for me. It's a challenge for all the society. But particularly, we have to give the young the adequate tools to incorporate that knowledge into their day-to-day decisions. And on top of that, we are witnessing as well how digital transformation has increased fraud opportunities. Fraud has always existed, but just now has a new dynamics. We are seeing an increased abundance of online investment offers, not to mention those related to crypto assets, that are directly fraudulent. And in Spain, we have taken some initiatives to mitigate these risks. For instance, in the crypto sphere, we have regulated the advertising of cryptos with clear warnings of the risk. Now we will have MiCA that regulated at the European level, but before that, we didn't have it. Also, we're paying attention to those fine influencers or financial influencers that you can find on social media to ensure that they follow the rules applied to investment recommendations. And being more ambitious on fraud prevention, we also launched last year the National Action Plan Against Financial Fraud. And I'm just mentioning this because it's an example of this need to strengthen collaboration among public and private institutions. There are right now 19 institutions working together to anticipate fraud detection and limit its damage. And we're starting to see some results. Even by law, for instance, Google now apply measures in Spain to reduce the advertising of potential financial fraud on its platforms, such as YouTube or other browsers. So here, my first point was precisely this: how new technology is changing the dynamics of how we get the information. And the second point that I would like to stress today is the need to be aware of how behavioral investment biases can be exacerbated precisely in this new digital environment. And I explain myself. We have seen advanced market strategies and other technological techniques that are being designed to exploit our most basic instincts, making investment decisions, sometimes looking closer to playing a video game. This gamification of investment can be particularly appealing to the youngest. Some apps do this not only promising safe profits in a very short period of time, but also doing it in a way that is easy sometimes to forget that you are really dealing with real money, distracting investors from the main risks of investing. So I think there are plenty of well-known unconscious biases that are present in any financial decision. Behavioral economics have studied this from many years ago. It's just that with the new technologies, this it's more relevant than ever. We have the overconfidence bias, thinking that overestimating the self-knowledge of oneself, no? And this is particularly real among those individuals with lower skills, what makes things more complicated. Another example of this bias is the halo effect, which is a tendency to just judge one person or institution based on a single positive effect and overshadows all others. No, this is also something that we're seeing very commonly on social media. So my point is that mixing this irrational investment behavior with the latest digital techniques, we can have an explosive cocktail. And this is why any financial education initiative should take also this into account, offering the right tools to citizens to detect these practices. And of course, investment service providers should also make a responsible use of engaging technology. So just allow me to draw some conclusions. I think that definitely there is a clear need for working together, public, private institutions, to adapt financial education of young generation to their current reality. And when doing this, we should use their own language. We should help them, but using their own language and using what data needs, understanding the challenges that they are facing when entering this investment world for the first time. And as I'm just to mention an example of this working together, public and private institutions, we have in Spain, it started in 2008, the Financial Education Plan. We are right now 55 collaborators, the Bank of Spain, the government, but also financial institutions, banks, savings banks that are present there. We're working together with universities as well in a coordinated way to improve the financial education of citizens. And I think we have achieved important goals. Now, financial education has been considered a basic knowledge in mathematical competence, and so added to the school curriculum in primary and secondary education. Of course, I welcome other initiatives as the one that has already been mentioned by the OECD and the European Commission, the Financial Competence Framework. I think it's proven, in my opinion, one of the most important milestones in this topic, and will be a reference for developing financial education initiatives for young people. But there's still a long way to go. I want to express again my recognition to the organization of this conference, because definitely the most efficient way to achieve concrete results is to carry out a joint effort. And this is precisely a perfect example of what we need to do. Thank you very much, and really looking forward to hearing our next countries. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Montserrat. Very